Yeah.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you very much for this kind invitation. I'm really honored and privileged to stand in front of you today and to deliver this talk, this Hangout talk to you. Hope you're gonna enjoy it, and we're gonna start slowly, step by step. Whenever you have any questions, dear colleagues, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and to post the questions into our chat. Well, let me start with a slow introduction about the usability of e-learning and blended learning platforms. I'm going to set up your initial expectations from this Hangout talk. Today, I'm going to outline a real-world example of development of e-learning and blended learning platforms, as well as considering the learning experience that we drew to our Creating as Erasmus Plus funded projects. And my name is Dr. Petyo Budakov. I'm a visiting professor at the Hochschule für Medien in Berlin, Germany, where I'm living. I'm also a visiting professor in some other universities around the world. My latest research are focused on establishment and development of e-learning and blended learning campuses that goes beyond the traditional ones. I'm looking for strategies that embrace new and innovative challenges in that field. Simultaneously, I am a co-owner of the international vocational training school called Ed Academy, which is based in Berlin, as well as being a founder of my own advertising agency called BF Studio Ltd. Since 2018, my company is a partner of the Erasmus Plus co-funded project called Creatiness. And the example that I'm going to illustrate here, it's a real-world example that my colleagues and me developed together in a close conjunction since we've been working together for 2 years. I was also honored and privileged to become an ambassador of this brilliant campaign, Brain City Berlin. By acting as an ambassador, my main goal is to promote the Berlin scientific landscapes. It's a very attractive field for doing research in any field. So I'm also part of this campaign here. Let me start by telling a few words, sharing a few words about the tremendous shift into the contemporary e-learning and blended learning educations, which caused a severe impact upon the contemporary learning management systems that we all know are abbreviated as an LMS platforms. And because of that, learning has been changing, and educators, designers, developers, lecturers, they have to work together in a close conjunction in order to create personalized learning experience. And throughout the course of our practice-led research with the Creatiness, we have identified a few problems that I want to share with you. So the first problems refers with the very confusing user interface promoted by most of the learning management systems, which often leads to disengagement. The second problem that we noted is the fact that most of the students cannot open their LMS on their tablets or smartphones, which means they are inaccessible. In other words, there is a lack of responsive design in that field. And the third one is that most of the LMS are unable to integrate a third-party tool, simply put, some plugins and add-ons that are really crucial for making the LMS attractive and meaningful for the students' needs. Last but not least, Most of the students, most of the learners have to deal with numerous of bugs and technical glitches. Few words about creativeness. Creativeness, it's Erasmus Plus funded project throughout the framework of 2018-2021. And it aims at developing high quality blended training programs and effective blended training campus for the needs of students, freelancers, regional multipliers, stakeholders who are active into the cultural and creative industry called CCI. And one of our main goals here is to personalize the education in a way that it motivates and encourages each learners to achieve their own and individual goals. It's a tremendous challenge that Creativeness wants to do with, and it's one of our main goals, actually, together with my colleagues, to design such kind of learning experience together. It requires solid investigation, analysis, and recommendations, and then to develop the training programs and the blended learning campus based on those findings. Our target audience vary between people aged between 18 to 35 years old. As I mentioned before, they're young entrepreneurs or students or creative people who are looking for a chance to promote themselves. And beneficiaries of the projects are looking for extending their networking, to work together, to find out new opportunities, to gather cutting edge skills, or just to move to another field in the industry. Creativeness aims to support the higher education, by the way, by encouraging students to obtain those skills that universities need. And together with my colleagues, we had to execute thorough research across the 5 countries, the 5 partner countries that participate into the project. I mean, Germany, Bulgaria, France, North Macedonia, and Hungary. When it comes to the choice of the LMS, it's again based on the research and investigations that we did, and we had to consider a large number of different LMS platforms. Finally, our team limited the choice between Moodle and Blackboard. Why we chose Moodle? Moodle is famous with its modular framework, which is really very important for us, and it's secure login that enables to protect sensitive data. We installed the latest release of Moodle 3.9.1 2020, which fixed all previous technical glitches and bugs we identified before. Talking about the user interface, wow, that's exactly my field. And we had to design aesthetically beautiful user interface in order to assure smooth interaction between the users, between our learners and the learning content inside of the platforms. Our goal was not only to design a sophisticated and pure design, but also to assure a high level of accessibility and responsiveness inside of the platform. So throughout the course of our work, we identified the 4 challenges that you could see here, and we discovered solutions that we are currently applying. And into the next couple of slides, I'm going to illustrate some concrete examples how we proceed further. The first challenge was about how to increase the number of the Creativeness learners. Since it's a European funded initiative, Creativeness Academy, it's an open tuition-free campus that encourage learners from Europe to join us and to gather new cutting edge skills in order to modernize the education and to increase the competitiveness inside of Europe. So in order to increase the number of the learners, we had to offer our learners with very user-friendly and intuitive user interface. How to achieve the second challenge, high level of user satisfaction. Well, we all know that nowadays users want to handle very quickly with the current web environment. Therefore, we noted that we had to assure them to find the necessary data and information within maximum of 3 clicks. The third challenge, achieve well-arranged layout and easy orientation. This challenge refers with how to make UI patterns that would encourage our learners to consume easily their learning content. Last but not least, it's how to assure responsive learning management systems. As I mentioned before, it was extremely important to enable our interface to be open from everywhere on different gadgets, tablets, smartphones, or browsers, and to look attractively. The workflow. Well, we embraced the ideal human-centered design approach since it allows us to assure our project with research and user feedback. Ideal's human-centered design refers with a few stages that we went one by one. Observation, ideation, rapid prototyping, user feedback, which refers with usability testing, iteration, and finally the implementation. So we went over those 6 phases, and I'm giving right now concrete examples what we found out in each phase here. So the first one, observation. Together with my colleagues from the Consortium of Creativeness, we executed thorough research into the first project phase called Intellectual Output 1, where we had to identify the needs of the learners and the needs for qualifications of the learners. We had to discover how the learners, the millennials and the Generation Z learns right now and how it's going to learn into the next 3 years. So we spread different surveys among the participants, we collected the data, and based on the collected data, we took some further steps. Regarding the user interface, it was significantly important to raise the following 3 questions that you could see here on the screen. First one, how users perceive a product like Branded Learning Academy, what learners believe are the product's most important features, and what kind of problems users have experienced with similar LMS. As you see, we conducted qualitative and quantitative research together, so it was crucial to collect the results and to analyze them, and based on the findings to continue by developing the so-called user persona. You know, the user persona, it's a fictional character that represents our target audience. In that case, we got Sabrina Whitman. She's 27, lives in Berlin, UX designer, freelancer, and you could see all those characteristics that together with my colleagues, we explained. So by creating the user persona, it was very, very useful for us to continue with the ideation phase, because we started accumulating different ideas and exchanging those ideas inside of the Creativeness Consortium between all the partners freely. Every single day we started to brainstorm upon different UI features and how we could facilitate the learning experience for for our students, our future students. And this phase was really crucial for us. So in order to boost the effectiveness of our work, we decided to separate the, the teams into two different groups. Team one was engaged and committed entirely with the development of the course design and the course hierarchy. While the second team was engaged into producing user interface wireframes and mockups from scratch. And it's really interesting probably for you to see how we started. And that's why you could see an example of this stage ideation, how we brainstormed the ideas. We tried to figure out where the login button is going to be, how to enable users to create new accounts. You know, it's a very simple mockup just made from scratch, but we shared all those ideas freely and discussed them online in order to come up with some solutions. Well, let's move on to rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping refers to bringing all those ideas to life, which means that we employed Sketch. It's a powerful software that enables us to create those ideas that we sketched before into the so-called low fidelity and high fidelity mockups, and to help us to get real impression about how our user interface is going to look like. Throughout the rapid prototyping, we had to execute the following four steps. The first one refers with organizing the LMS navigation structure. I had to segregate the content into two different parts, primary and secondary one, by using the so-called method cart sorting. Later on, I'm going to shed some more light about that. Developing UI prototypes by using Sketch software. The third step was crucial for us, executing guerrilla usability testing. And finally, we had to choose a Moodle team and to customize the team. Here you could see an example of low fidelity sketch created by our team, which specify the user experience path, how you could log in and jump to another window. So it was really important for us to have those basic sketches. Whenever you start designing LMS, don't underestimate the role of, that's my friendly piece of advice, don't underestimate the role of the low fidelity sketches, because easily they could be produced in Sketch and freely shared between all the participants, so you could brainstorm effectively on that. As I mentioned before, it was really important to assure our learners with responsive design, which means that they have to open the website, they have to open the LMS on different devices. And we executed different A/B testing. You can see the difference like here. We have login in a button and just placing a link into the right top corner here on the screen. So even those minor changes, they matter for assuring a very smooth interaction between the consumers, between the users and the LMS platform. Oh, it's a photo, it's an example of the rapid prototyping, how we produce those sketches on paper and trying to refine them later on. Card sorting, dear colleagues, it's a very popular and effective method that we employed, and it refers by giving cards to a limited number of participants, and those cards referred with different topics, with different categories, with different subcategories as well. And the challenge here for the participants was to place the cards into different subcategories or categories where they think is the right place for them. So the card sorting helped us to define what user levels our LMS would feature, like for users who are logging into the platform or for guests. And to define the content that each type of users would have. While everyone wants to consume all the learning programs that we are going to offer or just one of them. So it was really important to figure out that. And you could see an example of the creativeness learning management systems card sorting. So here on the left side, there are different topics that refers with different categories and menus. Like in our menus, we're gonna have my profile, home, announcements, social media links, all the above mentioned here. And on the left side are topics that are of a primary or a secondary importance for our users. And the role of the users here, the participants of this card sorting, was just to drag and drop the topic into the right place. Right place, I mean the right place they think it's the right one. Since the importance of the content could vary depending on our target audience, this was extremely helpful to know that the menu of the LMS would be meaningful for all the participants here. And based on the findings here, based on the cards, by the way, we named the cards, we entitled the cards here, which participants were not responsible for labeling the cards. So that's why the method is called closed card sorting. We named all the cards and provided to the participants. So based on the results, we identified a few really very important user interface elements that we implemented into our learning management systems like sliders, search views, tags, icons, and etc. Here you could see an example of some all-fidelity sketch how our courses are going to look like, since we have two different programs, and all the programs have to be translated into the partners' languages. And we decided to choose the environment that you could see here on the screen. And high fidelity mockup. Right now we are using real images and trying to improve the quality to visualize it better for us. User feedback. It was crucial for us to gather this user feedback by executing the so-called guerrilla usability testing. We had to approach strangers. We had to approach strangers into the cafes, malls, libraries in Bulgaria and Germany, and to ask them to spend approximately 10 to 15 minutes by browsing and using the mobile version of our LMS platform. And respondents were given with a few scenarios. So we collected all the data once we got written consent by all of the participants. And it was significantly important to note how they deal between those different scenarios. Here you could see an example of one of these, of three different scenarios, sorry. Like you could see my profile, the photos is on the left, and how the personal data is illustrated. The second scenario and the third scenario, they vary. There are some changes here that we have to identify which one makes participants feel more confident to browse in. And whenever we got any challenges or any difficulties that participants faced, we noted that down and improved the scenarios later on throughout our workflow. Iteration, well, once the UI testing was, this guerrilla testing was executed and validated, we continue with the iteration of the project by installing a Moodle team. We did thorough research in order to discover which Moodle team would match with all the above mentioned aspects, and we discovered that the Moodle team called Adaptable is the best one, since it enables us to customize it easily. It's a responsive team, and we could quite easily customize the front page, the course page, the footer in the dashboard. Once we customized that, we moved on with another UI testings among 55 respondents who belongs to the 5 partners countries, again, Germany, France, Bulgaria, Hungary, and North Macedonia. I'm going to show you a few examples of the testing here. We use the Usability Hub platform, which is extremely useful when you're going to execute such kind of testings. And those circles indicate who are actually the learners clicked, and as well as indicating how long it took for them for finding the right button. And the first question was, this is your course main page. What is the first thing that you're going to do? And we could see where actually the learners clicked in order to discover these features. Another question here that was important for us, how we are going to set up your account, since without an account, users cannot log in. And we found out that almost 100% of the users were dealing very well with that. Another question that we illustrated here, you can see a preview of the learning models and what is the first thing that you're going to do. So we had to make sure that all the learners could get an easy orientation inside of the training content. So that's why this question was extremely important for our consortium, for our projects. Anyway, we faced some difficulties. I'm sorry that I'm getting out of the time. Apologize for that. But I prepared a lot of examples that I want to deliver to you. We discovered that most of the learners got lost into the very beginning, just because they didn't have prior experience in using learning management systems. And that's why we decided to provide them with the user tour. It's a kind of guidance that pop up on the screens once they log in. And you can see here how the Windows appears on the screen. I want to pay your attention to the buttons. Also, really important, we chose the so-called smooth corner buttons here because they're well perceived, much better perceived comparing with the sharp edge buttons. And many psychologists claims that this phenomenon came from our early childhood. We all know that round cornered toys are safer comparing with some sharp-edged toys. So probably that's one of the aspects that really matters here, is it makes the round corner buttons easily perceived than the other one. So that's why we decided to implement those kind of buttons here. Another problems that was identified throughout the course of our user interface testing was the fact that not all the participants noted the login button. And yes, according to most of them, they stated that it's less recognizable. And we had to find a solution. The solution was in the fact that we swapped the basic and the hover button here, like using another color, which makes the login button to stand out from the others. It has to be really recognizable and memorable, and to stay into the top right corner here. Another important aspect it's the padding. While the margin, we all know probably what the margin is. This is the space that it stands that it's specified around the UI elements. So the padding, this is the distance between the inner border and the child content of the element. So the padding, we enlarge the padding with a few pixels more in order to assure well balance, with good structure, and to give more space inside of our user interface. Cover, it was really important for us to assure a consistency between the Creatiness website, the entire Creatiness corporate identity, and the learning management system. That's why we try to implement the same cover palette here. Alignment alignment makes user interface to be well organized and well structured. So we have to be consistent and coherent over the time. And also alignment helped us to prioritize different UI elements and help our awareness to take actions throughout the course of different pages, where they have to click, what they have to choose. And as I mentioned before, our main challenge here was to assure a very short learning path to our awareness. With maximum of 3 clicks, they have to find the information they need. And another example, like we have to choose what kind of pop-up window for the user to choose here to implement. And we choose the third options, since there is an invisible diagonal which starts from the top left and goes to the bottom right here and leads the human eye smoothly through the entire content. Again, as I mentioned before, the choice is placed open around rounded corners of the buttons that we implemented. Implementation, so it's an ongoing right now, and based on the results, based on the findings, so backup end functionalities will be built by our developers. Together with me and my colleagues, we're working on that. And into the next 2 months, the Creatiness Academy and LMS will be working in 100%. So you could enjoy, as I mentioned before, it's a tuition-free and open campus. And to sum up, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks based on the experience that I gained throughout this project. So adjustments have to be implemented gradually, step by step. And another piece of advice is to execute a large number of UI testings, but please try to rethink the questions inside in order to take good data, to collect good data that really matters and would help you to proceed further and make changes that really matters. And finally, sometimes small changes as enlarging a button or changing the colors, as you saw here, just swapping the basic colors and the hover colors can make a significant difference. So once again, thank you very much for your time, and apologize that I prolonged the time of 15 minutes significantly. I really hope that it was useful for you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise them. Thank you very much for the organizers for these brilliant initiatives. Thank you, Linda.